I said, you did what? Like, I shot Mom and Bob.
Your mom's
Wait,
she's deceased, all right? Now, what I want to ask you, did you have involvement in this?
Did you ever consider, in a public place, if you stood up, Dee Dee's fraud would be completely exposed? You planned a murder.
Yes.
In December 2016, in Clinton Township, Michigan, 45-year-old Sonia Ryang was living with her daughter, Delilah Evans, in an apartment at the Washington Place complex. Ryang, who used a wheelchair after a past accident, relied on a stable home environment, but there had already been signs of trouble. Police had previously responded to disturbances at the residence, and relatives later said the girl had been acting in unusual and concerning ways. As the weeks leading up to Christmas passed, those concerns grew stronger. Family members noticed changes in her behavior, including statements that suggested confusion and distress. On Christmas Day, the situation escalated inside the apartment. At some point during the day, an incident occurred that resulted in Sonia Ryang losing her life. The event happened without immediate outside attention, and later, a relative discovered what had happened, prompting a call to police. After leaving the apartment, the girl was later located at a nearby store and taken into custody. During initial interactions, officers noted that her statements were inconsistent and at times difficult to follow, raising questions about her mental state. As the investigation progressed, authorities formally charged her as an adult with first-degree premeditated murder, a charge that carries a possible life sentence. The case quickly drew public attention, largely due to her age and the concerns raised about her psychological condition. Family members insisted there had been clear signs that something was wrong, although there were no official medical records confirming a diagnosis or consistent treatment.
They haven't let us talk to her. We haven't seen her. She haven't made a phone call.
It's an unfortunate situation. Everything is not great. Obviously, she has a mental illness. She's young. She can't comprehend. I wouldn't even be able to comprehend what the judge was saying to her if I was a 17-year-old in the situation that I'm in right now.
I don't know what's afflicting her. I just know she had some mental issues.
During the trial, the defense focused on her mental condition, presenting evidence that she had been experiencing severe psychological issues and was not fully grounded in reality at the time. The prosecution, however, argued that her actions before and after the incident suggested awareness and intent.
Therefore, it is the sentence of the court that with respect to the charge of homicide, first-degree premeditated murder, the defendant be committed to the Michigan Department of Corrections for life without the possibility of parole.
The jury ultimately found her guilty of first-degree murder, while also recognizing that she was mentally ill, meaning she was held legally responsible despite acknowledged psychological issues. In 2018, she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case later moved through the appeals process, where questions were raised about how her mental condition had been handled in court, but the outcome remained unchanged. Over time, the case came to be seen not just as a single tragic event, but as the result of a series of warning signs and behavioral changes that escalated without effective intervention. In August 2015, in Carrollwood, Florida, 21-year-old Nicole Nachman was a student at Florida State University. Around that time, her behavior had started to change. According to later testimony, she was experiencing disturbing thoughts and claimed to hear voices, which affected her sleep and overall state of mind. She was also dealing with personal stress after missing a university housing deadline, something prosecutors later said she was afraid to tell her mother. Investigators later said her mental state had worsened during this period. After arriving at the house, an incident took place inside involving her stepfather, Robert Dienes, who lost his life. Nicole remained at the home overnight. The next day, she stayed there and waited for her mother, Miriam Dienes, to return. When her mother arrived, another confrontation occurred outside the house, which also resulted in her losing her life.
She mistimed it and ran into my mom, and my mom said, "Nikki, what the are you doing here?" And she said she blacked out, and somehow she knows she did it.
Her brother later said that she was afraid to tell her mother about missing the housing deadline, and if only the news of getting the housing had arrived sooner, her mother wouldn't have lost her life.
If I had only gotten the good news phone call about the dorms earlier, I wouldn't have had to do it.
Neighbors later reported noticing unusual activity around the home, which became part of the investigation timeline. Afterward, Nicole left the area and returned to Tallahassee, attempting to distance herself from the situation. However, investigators quickly began connecting the events. Witness accounts placed her at the scene, and her roommate told police that Nicole had asked for help creating an alibi. She was soon taken into custody. During the investigation, it emerged that she had spoken to others about what had happened, including a phone call with her brother, Joseph Carey. He later testified that she admitted her involvement and spoke about hearing voices, describing them as overwhelming and difficult to control.
I said, "You did what?" Like, I shot Mom and Bob. And she went into like a whisper, and she was like, "I didn't think I could do it, Joey. I didn't think I could do it, but I shot Bob. I didn't think I could do it." And it was just weird because it was in a whisper and almost sounded like she was proud of herself. Ever since she got back from London, her school trip, that she's had uncontrollable screaming in her head and like a high-pitched screaming, and that it was affecting her sleep and she was having nightmares from it. I just remember saying, like, "Why did you have to do that? You had options. You could have called your uncle, you could have called your grandma, you could have called me. Why did you have to do that?" And I don't know what she said. She just kept crying. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
When the case went to trial, prosecutors argued that her actions showed planning and awareness. They pointed to the sequence of events, returning home, remaining there, and her behavior afterward, as evidence that she understood what she was doing. They also suggested that fear of facing her mother about her situation at school played a role. The defense focused on her mental condition, arguing that she was going through a severe psychological breakdown and was not fully in control at the time. They also raised concerns about pressure within the household and how it may have affected her state of mind. During the trial, jurors heard from investigators, experts, and family members. Her brother's testimony stood out as he described her confession and her unusual emotional state following the incident.
I had no problems looking in the mirror and stuff, and I've been able, and my head's been clear, and no stress, no anxiety. Been able to sleep better.
After about a week of testimony and several hours of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict.
Death caused to Miriam Deans, yes. So say we all dated this 3-day August 2019. Daniel Maudlin, foreperson of the jury.
Ms. Ottman and defense counsel, you may be seated at this time. Would either side like the jury polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what that means is my clerk is going to ask each of you individually whether the verdict that was published represents your verdict in this case. You may proceed.
Yes, Judge. Daniel M., is this your verdict?
Yes.
Mary F., is this your verdict?
Yes.
Jimmy D., is this your verdict?
Yes.
Jeremy S., is this your verdict?
Yes.
Heather Z., is this your verdict?
Yes.
Anna O., is this your verdict?
Yes.
Timothy F., is this your verdict?
Yes.
Anthony R., is this your verdict?
Yes.
James P., is this your verdict?
Yes.
Ricky C., is this your verdict?
Yes.
Gabriella G., is this your verdict?
Yes.
And Patsy H., is this your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anything from the state before I release the jury?
No, Your Honor.
Is there anything from the defense before the jury is released?
No, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is the time when I say thank you very much for your hard work and your dedication in this case. This was a very long trial. You gave us your undivided attention. You came here every day and you worked hard, and you worked very hard in the end with the verdict until this late hour. And for that, we appreciate your service. I'm going to thank you on behalf of the attorneys, the parties, the judges here in the 13th Judicial Circuit, and the citizens of Hillsborough County. I want to let you know now that I will release you from all of my prior restrictions about not doing any research related to the case, about not talking about the case to others. When you go home, I'm sure friends, family members, people at work are going to want to talk to you or ask you questions. It's up to you, but you are free to talk to them now about the case. Additionally, I want to let you know about your deliberations. They carry with them a very special protection, and you cannot be forced to talk about your deliberations except by court order. However, if you wish to talk about the jury deliberations that happened back in the jury room, you are free to do that. That is up to you. We're going to have the bailiffs walk with you. It's dark outside. We're going to have the bailiffs walk you to your cars in the garage. We have letters for you that say that you were here both weeks. And at this time, again, I want to thank you very much for your very important civic duty. I said in the very beginning that Abraham Lincoln said a very long time ago that the greatest service you can give to your country in a time of non-war is service on a jury. I still believe that today, and we appreciate you very much. Thank you all, and have a very safe trip home. All rise for the jury. Jury has exited. Everyone may be seated. I'll ask the state, is there any reason why we can't proceed to sentencing at this time? Would you like the victims present? Would you like a sentencing date? Or would you like us to proceed to sentencing?
If you had to sentencing judge, I don't think there's any victims who want to be present.
All right. Is there any reason from the defense why we should not proceed to sentencing at this time?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Donovan, the jury having found you guilty as charged on counts 1 and 2, I am going to adjudicate you guilty at this time on each of those counts and sentence you to life in Florida State Prison on each count to run concurrently. I will impose all standard court cost fees and fines. You will have 30 days to appeal the judgment and sentence entered against you. Thank you.
Will you appoint the public defender for purposes of the appeal, please?
I will appoint the public defender for purposes of the appeal. If you'll submit me an order on JAWS, I will sign it as soon as it is submitted. Is there anything else before we conclude court?
Nothing from the state judge.
Anything from the defense?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, again, thank you all very much. Have a safe trip home. Oh, I got to sign. All right, I'll stick around.
We've got some equipment. Can you come pick that up Monday morning?
I don't foresee any problem with that.
I'm here, they'll just have to check with the bailiffs because you'll be at conference.
I'm sure Sally.
Yeah,
Sally
and Sally can get in.
Okay, I know Sally will find.
Yeah, I have no problem with you leaving it here. It should be safe.
Nicole Nechtman was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. The court concluded that, despite her claims of hearing voices, she understood her actions. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Verity Beck had been living with her parents, Reed Beck and Miriam Beck, in Abington Township, Pennsylvania, for several years. She relied heavily on them for financial support and had not built a stable, independent life. Those who knew the family later described her as withdrawn, while relatives said there had been ongoing tension inside the home. In early January 2023, contact with Reed and Miriam suddenly stopped. Investigators later determined that around January 7th was likely when both of them lost their lives inside the house. The situation unfolded within the home, and evidence suggested it was not accidental. In the days that followed, Verity remained inside the residence. Instead of informing anyone, she took steps to hide what had happened. Investigators later found that she had moved and covered the remains and placed them in different parts of the house. The condition of the home indicated that these actions took place over several days rather than all at once. Concern grew among family members when they were unable to reach Reed and Miriam. On January 17th, their son went to check on them. After briefly speaking with his sister and noticing that something felt wrong, he contacted the police. Officers arrived at the house the same day for a welfare check. After entering the property, they encountered Verity and began searching the home. Inside, they discovered clear evidence that both parents were deceased. The scene also showed that efforts had been made to conceal the situation over time, and several items were recovered from the house as part of the investigation. Verity Beck was taken into custody at the scene.
The arrest is of Verity Beck, 49, of Rydell. Abington police were called to conduct a wellness check in a home where Reed and Miriam Beck lived on Beverly Road. When police arrived, they were able to get in the house and immediately identified a deceased male, and that was Reed. And he was wrapped in a white sheet and comforter. And they were also, unfortunately, able to see that there was evidence of Miriam in the house also, and she was deceased. There were signs of extreme trauma I'll tell you that a chainsaw was found. Both Reed and Miriam were found in different stages of dismemberment. These were not easy autopsies to conduct based upon the fact that Verity used this chainsaw and then had put parts of her parents into trash bags. The autopsy revealed that both Reed and Miriam were shot in the head. There is evidence that a pillow was used in the shot, and there was one shot to each of their heads. We are looking for what motive could have been behind this.
During questioning, she admitted responsibility for her parents' deaths. Investigators later suggested that financial stress and long-standing family conflict may have contributed to what happened. During the trial, jurors heard testimony from investigators, experts, and family members. Relatives described Reed and Miriam as supportive parents who had continued to help their daughter despite ongoing difficulties at home. In the end, Verity Beck entered a plea of guilty but mentally ill to 2 counts of first-degree murder. The court acknowledged her mental health condition, but held her legally responsible. She was sentenced to life imprisonment, ensuring she would remain in custody while receiving mental health treatment. In 1998, in Tampa, Florida, 49-year-old Vicki Robinson was living as a single mother and working as a real estate agent, trying to maintain stability in her home. Her relationship with her daughter, Valessa Robinson, had become increasingly strained over time. The girl had begun engaging in risky behavior, including running away, using drugs, and becoming deeply attached to her 19-year-old boyfriend, Adam Davis. Vicki saw these changes as dangerous and tried to step in, attempting to separate the two and even considering structured environments like a boarding school to regain control. However, the girl viewed these actions not as protection, but as restriction, believing her mother was interfering in her life and relationship. As tensions grew, resentment began to build. Investigators later concluded that the girl saw her mother as the main obstacle between her and the freedom she wanted. Over time, conversations between her, Adam Davis, and their friend John Wispel shifted from complaints to something more serious. When they were unable to obtain drugs to stage an overdose, they made a reckless decision to use bleach instead, preparing a and convincing themselves they could carry it out. Late in June, the 3 returned to the Robinson home. Vicki was awake, waiting for her daughter to come back. Instead of a normal interaction, the situation quickly escalated. Davis restrained her from behind while she struggled and tried to understand what was happening. The girl assisted in holding her in place as Davis attempted to carry out the plan. When their initial attempt failed, the situation turned more chaotic, and the attack continued until Vicki lost her life inside her own home. Afterward, panic replaced whatever confidence they had earlier. The group attempted to clean the scene and remove evidence, then moved the body into a container and transported it away from the house. They left it hidden in a wooded area nearby, intending to deal with it later, but never returned. Their actions soon drew attention when unusual activity on Vicki's accounts triggered alerts. Within days, authorities tracked them to Texas. When police approached, Davis attempted to flee, leading to a pursuit that ended with all 3 being taken into custody. Investigators later recovered Vicki's body, confirming the full sequence of events. During the legal proceedings, each person faced different consequences. Adam Davis, identified as the primary attacker, was convicted of first-degree murder and initially sentenced to death, though that sentence was later reduced to life, without parole after appeals. John Wispel cooperated with authorities, testified against the others, and received a reduced sentence for second-degree murder, eventually being released after serving his term. Valessa Robinson, who was a minor at the time, became the center of debate, with arguments focusing on whether she had been influenced or had acted willingly. The court ultimately found her guilty of third-degree murder and grand theft, sentencing her to 20 years in prison. With time served and good behavior, she spent around 13 years incarcerated before being released in 2013.
In all honesty, I feel like she should spend the rest of her life behind bars. I actually feel sorry for Valessa because she lost the best friend that she'll ever have.
Even though she's being released from prison, she'll never be released from what she has done.
Vicki loved her daughter. She was a good mother, a dear friend, and she would want what's best for her daughter.
15 years after Vicki Robinson's death, the release of her daughter reopened emotions that had never fully settled. For those who knew Vicki personally, the news was difficult to process. After Valessa Robinson's release, she stepped away from public attention. Reports suggest she moved away, built a private life, and avoided media exposure. In 2024, a Julia Eagler was living with her 38-year-old mother, Kelly McCollum, and her mother's 22-year-old partner, Matthew Seinrock. From the outside, the home appeared normal, but investigators later revealed there had been ongoing tension inside, including disagreements related to personal identity and conflict over the relationship. In the days leading up to the incident, those tensions grew stronger. According to investigators, the situation reached a breaking point, and Julia began planning her actions. She took access to a weapon in the home and waited inside rather than acting in the moment. Late one night, just after midnight, she called emergency services, sounding distressed, claiming that someone had broken into the house. She told dispatchers she had stayed in her room while the intruder forced entry and harmed both occupants. When officers arrived, the scene initially appeared to match that version. There were signs of damage near the entrance, and she repeated the same account, leading police to briefly consider the possibility of a home invasion.
What? You okay? Are you okay? Are you bleeding?
No.
Who's bleeding?
So we want justice for your mom and her boyfriend, and figure out who did this and why. And then have you ever touched
a long time ago, but
so you're familiar with and how they work, how they shoot.
As the investigation progressed, however, inconsistencies began to surface. Surveillance footage showed no evidence of anyone entering or leaving the property, and details inside the home did not align with the timeline she described. These findings raised doubts about her statement. During further questioning, the story began to fall apart. Investigators concluded that the break-in had been staged. Faced with the evidence, she admitted that no outside person had been involved. According to police, she had been waiting inside the home, and when her mother and her mother's partner returned, the situation escalated, resulting in both losing their lives. Afterward, she attempted to create the appearance of a forced entry to shift suspicion away from herself. Authorities also noted that she was familiar with firearms, which contributed to how the incident unfolded. The motive, based on investigative findings, centered on ongoing conflict within the household. Following the investigation, she was taken into custody and charged with 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder. Despite being under 18, prosecutors decided to try her as an adult. Officials later confirmed that the death penalty would not be pursued. In 2006, Rachel Mullenix was living with her mother, Barbara Mullenix. Over time, their relationship became strained, largely due to Rachel's involvement with her 21-year-old boyfriend, Ian Allen. Barbara strongly opposed the relationship and tried to limit contact, believing it was harmful. As tensions increased, Rachel became more closely aligned with Allen. Investigators later found that their conversations had shifted from complaints to something more deliberate. Evidence suggested they began viewing Barbara as the main obstacle to their relationship and discussed ways to deal with the situation. By mid-September, the situation escalated inside the home. An incident occurred involving both Rachel and Ian Allen that resulted in Barbara losing her life. Authorities later determined that it was not a sudden act, but something that followed prior discussion. Afterward, instead of contacting authorities, they attempted to hide what had happened. They moved her body, placed it inside a container, and transported it away from the home. The next day, it was discovered in Newport Harbor, which led to a full investigation.
September 13th, 2006, the Newport Beach Police Department had a call of her body in the water at the Newport Harbor Yacht Club. We were the lead investigators on this case. They removed the body from the water that was wrapped in a mattress pad and bed sheets and found a female white in her 50s with multiple wounds It was an extremely big story. There was, of course, local news coverage of it.
We do have to go through extra hoops sometimes. In this case, she had breast implants that had distinct serial numbers on them, and we were able to trace her identity through those serial numbers.
She's Barbara Ann Mullenix, 56-year-old female white from the city of Huntington Beach, California.
She was living with her ex-husband and their daughter.
It hurts. I never thought that Barbara would be gone.
My mom was my life. She was my heart. She was my soul. She was my everything.
She was part-time actress. She'd do background acting, walk-ons for shows.
Detectives traced the events back to the residence, where they found evidence that the incident had taken place there, along with signs of an attempted cleanup.
This is a diagram of the body.
52 stones is overkill. There was a butter knife embedded in her right eye.
Someone wanted to punish this person. It was clear they wanted her to suffer.
Whoever stabbed Barbara Mullenix knew her very well.
This indicated that efforts had been made to conceal the situation before leaving the area. Soon after, Rachel and Ian Allen left California together. Their sudden departure raised suspicion, and law enforcement began tracking them. Within a few days, they were located and arrested in Louisiana. During the court proceedings, prosecutors built their case around the idea of planning and shared responsibility. They introduced evidence, including messages between the two, witness statements, and behavior after the incident, arguing that both had been involved not only in the act, but also in trying to cover it up. They emphasized that leaving the state and attempting to dispose of evidence showed awareness and intent. The defense presented a different perspective. The prosecution focused on establishing a clear timeline, while the defense tried to create doubt about Rachel's level of involvement and decision-making. After reviewing the evidence, the jury found both Rachel Mullenix and Ian Allen guilty of murder in 2008. Each received a sentence of 25 years to life in prison. In 2019, in Great Baddow, Essex, Virginia McCullough was living with her elderly parents, John and Lois McCullough. At the time, she had no stable income and had quietly built up serious financial problems. Over a period of months, she took money in her parents' names and created false explanations to hide it, even forging documents and claiming they had been victims of scams. By early 2019, the situation had worsened, with debts reaching tens of thousands of pounds. Prosecutors later said she feared her parents would discover the truth, which became a key factor in what followed. By mid-June 2019, events inside the home escalated. An incident involving her father occurred first, followed by another involving her mother the next day. After concerns arose that the situation might be exposed, both parents lost their lives inside the home. Afterward, instead of reporting what had happened, she focused on hiding it. She concealed both within the house and began creating a long-term story to explain their absence. From that point on, she maintained the appearance that her parents were still alive. She sent messages pretending to be them, told relatives they were unwell or didn't want visitors, and avoided situations that might raise suspicion. At the same time, she continued using their finances, including pensions and savings. This continued for more than 4 years. Limited contact with others, especially during the pandemic period, allowed her to maintain the situation with little interference. In September 2023, those concerns led to a welfare check. When police entered the home, they uncovered what had been hidden for years, bringing the situation to light. She was arrested at the scene and later admitted responsibility, allowing investigators to confirm the full timeline.
It's fine. No one in here at the moment. Hold on. The police. Got it. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. Show me. Stay where you are. Show your hands. You here? Jenny?
Yep.
Jenny?
Yeah.
Oh. The time is 12:12. You're under arrest on suspicion of murder against Jonathan McCullough and Lars McCullough.
Yeah,
Okay?
okay.
You don't say anything, but it may harm defence. You do
No,
not
I just
mention
take my cough
when
out.
question, so much like to report anything you do say over the evidence. Okay?
Particularly ghastly case. Firstly, the murder of her father using prescription medication will inevitably have caused a very painful and harrowing death. Then, of course, the brutal murder of her mother by repeatedly stabbing her, and then 4 years of lies, deceit, and deception as she sought to cover up her actions.
Alright, your arrest is necessary for a punch in the face.
Is there anything in the property we should know about?
Yes, there
Where?
is. Can I take you to it?
No, you can tell me.
Can we go in there for a second, just so I can tell you something about what's in there?
Yeah.
Thank you. And then,
Let's tell us
the only
something
reason
about
I
what's in
said I need to tell you something about what's upstairs on the top floor as well.
It's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Is it here okay?
Yeah.
Yes, mind your face, obviously.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not that dangerous.
No, it's fine.
I know, but obviously I've got to be careful. My dad's body's in there.
Right, okay.
Yep, okay. Obviously I'll
What about
say,
your mum?
a little bit more complicated.
These murders went unnoticed for 4 years because she repeatedly told doctors, neighbours, anyone that she came into a complete set of lies, claiming that her parents were on holiday or were poorly or had otherwise gone away for a while, when, of course, their bodies lay concealed within the home that she'd shared with them.
Okay.
That's why I said, can I go upstairs and show you?
Right, can you explain it to us, please? Because we're trying to preserve this. It's now going to be seen, so we need to preserve this the best we can. So I don't want you to have you walking up there, all right? Because that's for your well-being as well as ours.
Oh, no, up.
Okay. So where will we find your mum? Where will we find your mum?
Okay, so upstairs there are about 5 wardrobes.
Yep.
It's behind the bed at the back next to the sink. That's the second one. I slipped 5 of those into his drink. There were about 2 or 3 drinks that I brought downstairs. And yeah, they were basically, he didn't drink all of them. He only drank probably about half of 2. But yeah, when I went in the morning, this was before my mother. When I went in the morning, early hours, I got up about half an hour early, about 6 o'clock in the morning. Came in and he was gone. He was gone.
Okay.
It's
It's up to you if you want to talk.
Yeah.
But the thing is, purpose of your arrest. Purpose of your arrest is for a prompt, effective investigation as well as by questioning you. We can't do that here. It needs to be done at a police station, all right?
I did know that this would kind of come eventually. It's proper that I serve my punishment. So, yeah.
Okay, so Virginia, I'm just going to ask you this. This is what I've written down based on the information you just told us, because what we regard as a significant comment, because you've made it upon under caution after your arrest.
By the way, they're my granddad's.
Okay, right. So I've written this, please. I, Virginia McCulloch, have informed police constables 77329 Brown and 79387 Bowers after entering my house on Friday the 15th September 2023 that I met my father, John McCulloch, who was stated was under a bed in the rear ground floor of the house, and my mother upstairs in a cupboard next to the sink.
Wardrobe. It's a double wardrobe.
Right, okay, I've written
Double
cupboard.
Wardrobe. It's like 4 wardrobe doors, but it's the one nearest the sink. Double wardrobe.
Pick up then.
Yeah.
What's significant as I've written down here now, I've just read out to you. Are you happy to sign that, to say that's a true account?
Yeah. Cheer up, at least you caught the bad guy.
I've just woken up today and done my job. No.
I know I don't seem
Not a lot.
100% evil, but we all, yeah.
I'm not going to comment on anything. It's not my job to comment on it, okay? Because I've got to be impartial with everything, okay? So I'm not going to give any comment.
No, well, I mean, I deserve to obviously get whatever's coming sentence-wise, because that's the right thing to do. And that might give me a bit of peace. Also in the handbag as well, there's, and again, because you're probably going to need to know about it, there's a card in there, card one money, and that's a bank card where there's a lot of transactions that have taken place over the last few years.
What?
From money that pertains to my parents. So, murder weapon is upstairs in the toilet room, kitchen knife. It's in the middle of the brown carpet, against the wall, opposite the shelves. So there are two long white shelves. So opposite where that wall is, that's where the knife is. So next bit is very hard to talk about. That's probably the most grisly detail. So on the ground floor, underneath the stairs, there's a few like storage boxes and things. And in the middle, I think it's in one of the boxes or in a bag or something. If you want me to shuffle this, it's fine. But every bit helps. You will find forensic bits helpful. There's a hammer. I know, but I'm trying to help so you find everything. It's in the middle underneath the stairs. It will still have blood on it. It's rusted, but it will still have blood traces on it. So not cooperating is it's futile.
Yeah.
There's no point in not cooperating, there really is. And plus, apart from which anyway, I should take what I've done. That's the other side of the coin, I think. So, yeah.
It's an inevitable fact that bodies decompose. And of course, when they are concealed, hidden, and not preserved as they would be in a mortuary, it provides huge challenges to the pathologist and others, toxicology specialists, for example, in piecing together exactly how and when somebody had died. To obstruct the coroner in their work is a very serious crime. And as a result of that, I'm sure that all contributed to the hefty sentence that she's received.
The case moved to court in 2024 at Chelmsford Crown Court, where she pleaded guilty to 2 counts of murder. During sentencing, the defense pointed to her role as a caregiver and her parents' health issues, but the court determined that these factors did not reduce her responsibility. In October 2024, she was sentenced to life imprisonment, with a minimum term of 36 years before she can be considered for release. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was born in Louisiana in 1991 to Dee Dee Blanchard and Rod Blanchard. At birth, she was a healthy baby and there were no signs of any serious medical condition. Not long after her birth, her parents separated and Gypsy was raised primarily by her mother. As she grew older, Dee Dee began telling doctors and others that her daughter had multiple health problems.
Not long after, there's no way I can do what you're doing. You have a sick child, it's constantly 24/7 taking care of her and everything. I mean, I always praised her and told her, good job. You know, all the visits, Dee Dee had to be there the whole time. Something never felt right about it. Just Dee Dee was so controlling of her.
What started as minor concerns gradually turned into claims of severe illnesses, including leukemia, muscular dystrophy, seizures, and developmental issues. Over time, Gypsy was placed in a wheelchair and treated as if she were physically disabled, even though later evidence showed she could walk. She managed all medical appointments, spoke on her behalf, and kept her closely supervised at all times. Gypsy was pulled out of school and largely isolated from others. Many people around them believed Dee Dee was a devoted mother caring for a seriously ill girl, and she was often praised for her dedication.
They were full and perfectly healthy.
Yeah, she was. Nothing wrong with her. Perfect.
The community supported them with donations, financial help, and emotional encouragement. After Hurricane Katrina, they relocated to Springfield, Missouri, where their story gained even more attention. Charities helped them secure a specially built home, and Gypsy was given opportunities like trips and public appearances, which made their situation seem like a story of hope and resilience. Behind this public image, Gypsy later described a very controlled environment. She said she was often told she was sick, even when she felt otherwise, and that she was not allowed to question her mother. As she got older, she began to realize that some things did not make sense. She secretly explored the internet and started communicating with people outside her mother's control. This eventually led her to meet Nicholas Godejohn online. Their relationship developed quickly, and Gypsy began to see him as someone who could help her leave the life she felt trapped in.
She was in love with him. She thought that he was going to be the prince that came and finally saved her and got her out of her locked tower, and they'd live happily ever after.
What I was thinking whenever I saw these messages is that these were just like fantasies and dreams.
Over time, her desire for independence grew stronger. She later explained that she felt she had no safe way to escape her situation. She feared that if she tried to leave on her own, the consequences at home would be severe.
We've unearthed the appearance of a long financial fraud scheme along with this tragic event.
I will change you to the bed.
Physically chained me to the bed and put bells on the doors.
Did you ever consider, in a public place, if you stood up out of your wheelchair and walked, Dee Dee's fraud would be completely exposed?
I honestly didn't think about that.
It never crossed your mind?
No.
So instead of planning an elaborate escape, you planned murder?
Yes.
Piled into it that you couldn't even walk into it.
And I was like, holy, y'all need to get it over here right now and look at this. I mean, my mouth dropped.
When it came to these medications, it let me know from the very beginning that something here was seriously wrong.
In this state of desperation, she and Godejan made a plan involving her mother. In 2015, he traveled to Springfield, and during the night, Dee Dee was killed inside their home. Gypsy did not carry out the act herself, but was involved in planning it, believing it was the only way she could break free. After the incident, Gypsy and Godejan left the state and went to Wisconsin. Days later, a concerning message appeared online from their shared account, which led friends to contact authorities. Police entered the house and found Dee Dee deceased, while Gypsy she had been taken against her will, given her supposed condition. However, investigators quickly traced the online activity to Wisconsin, where both Gypsy and Godejan were associated Dee Dee's behavior with Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a condition where a caregiver creates or exaggerates illness in someone under their care. In 2016, Gypsy pleaded guilty to second-degree murder for her role in the case and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Godejan was later convicted of first-degree murder and received a life sentence. While in prison, Gypsy began to reflect on her life and the decisions she had made. She later said that although she wanted to escape her situation, she understood that there had been other options she could not see at the time due to how she had been raised.
Okay, I'll admit it. I did actually... Come on, I will admit it.
Were you afraid of getting caught?
That never crossed my mind. I honestly didn't think we were going to get caught.
After serving more than 8 years, Gypsy was released in 2023. As she re-entered society, her story continued to draw widespread attention. She spoke publicly about her past, acknowledging both the abuse she experienced and her role in the crime.
At some level, do you think what you did is justified?
No, nothing justifies murder. I think that should be punished by prison.
But on one hand, can it be looked at as self-defense? I mean, on one hand, she was dicing you up, girl. How many surgeries did you have?
So many.
10, 20?
I'm pretty sure 30 more. Because I had multiple eye muscle surgeries, multiple leg surgeries, multiple throat surgeries. I don't have salivary glands. Not these anymore because they were removed.
You got cut open, you got parts taken out of you, you got hacked up, you got poisoned, your childhood was stolen from you, your adolescence was stolen from you, your teen years were stolen from you.
I know. I'm trying to take the high road, and I found my faith while I've been in here. I've always been a person of religion, but I have to pray to forgive my mother. But right now, the hardest thing is to forgive myself. I have so much guilt.
Well, the first person you got to help is yourself. You're very conflicted right now.
I am.
I mean, you feel very guilty on one hand and very exploited on another, and that's because both things are true. You were terribly victimized. You were as a child, year after year after year. That's terrible. You know, it's just a perfect storm of bad circumstance and bad psyche. And I think that's why they were willing to make a plea deal with you instead of drop the on you. Because otherwise, you could be here for 40 years.
or life without parole.
Yeah. So I think the system has acknowledged the uniqueness of the situation while also meting out a punishment that says we cannot condone this kind of vigilante justice of getting even.
Mm-hmm.
Not even God can change what has happened. The future hasn't happened yet. The past is over. The only time is now and what you do in this moment. What you've got to do is not make excuses for what you've done, but own that it's 100% wrong and equip yourself with more powerful, more empowering coping skills so you don't get in this situation again. And if you can use your life, if you do become an advocate, if you do have opportunity to speak, you do have a compelling story. But you're not anywhere near equipped to tell it at this point because you've got to find every lesson from that story that you have right now, because what you have right now is a compelling story, but there's not a takeaway from it yet. I do want to help you have a chance to redeem yourself in this life.
Thank you.
And I will lead you to some resources that will help you do that. And I will do that, and I will say it in the same breath that I say I absolutely condemn what you did. I condemn the choice you made to escape. At the same time, I condemn everyone in the system that failed you. Just because you made a bad choice doesn't mean that your life should be over. You're going to pay your debt in here, but then you should spend the rest of your life making up for it.
I will.
And you've got something to offer. You want to find something specific that makes a meaningful difference, and I'll help you identify what that is.
Good.
Okay?
Because I want to make a difference, and I believe that I have the story too. I believe that I am getting better. I've grown a lot since I've been in here, matured a lot. I had loving support to help me get there. But I think the next 50% is going to have to be from more help than just me.
Now you've got to get yourself ready for the next phase of your life, and I'm saying I'll help you do that.
She expressed regret and said she did not act out of hatred for her mother, but out of a belief that she had no other way out. She also stated that she still thinks about her mother and does not view her as a monster, but as someone who struggled with serious mental health issues. Now, in her adult life, Gypsy is trying to move forward while living with the consequences of her past. Big thanks to our viewers for joining the courtroom journey with us. Your interest in the stories of justice is what keeps our channel alive.